Hi, this is János, it's RWA Audio, and I'd like to answer a question today, and the question was asked by M.J.S, and he said that I love to make Voigt pipes of Sitka spruce for Cube Audio F10 Select I just bought. And am I correct in assuming the baffle and internal dimensions for the F10 Select would be different than the cabinet that you built for the 8-inch Cube Audio driver? And yes, that's absolutely correct, because when you look up their parameters, they are a little bit different, and I would say more than just a little bit different. But the number one thing why you need to change the size is that because the 10-inch driver is wider than the 8-inch driver, so they would not fit in a cabinet that's 8 inches wide. So you need to increase the width of the cabinet. And also, when you look at the parameters, you can see that the internal volume that the F10 Select loves is about 3 times or so bigger than the internal volume that the FC8 likes. However, Voigt pipes work a little bit different than base reflex cabinets, so not the same things apply for them. Wait, I'm not having, okay, it wasn't focusing. Anyway, so what another thing that you can use as a basis to orient yourself what would be an optimal cabinet is to look at the Voigt pipe that Cube Audio recommends for the F10 Select and compare it to the Voigt pipe they recommend for the FC8. So when you look at those two Voigt pipe drawings, the Cube Audio truncated Voigt pipes, then you see that there's an approximate 50% difference between the internal volume of the two. So it means that they, by trial and error, have established that if you increase the internal volume by 50%, then you are having like an optimal cabinet size compared to the FC8. So looking at my Voigt pipes that I have for the FC8, the dimensions of which are public, so you already have, I think you already came across the dimensions for these, but just to go over them, so let's see, I have a tape here. Let's get the tape. It's kind of hard using this with one hand only, but so this one is in inches. So when you look at it, it's exactly 8.5 inches wide. So because then when you go to Home Depot, then the 8-inch wide board they sell is actually 8.5 inches. So this is what I used for the front width, and I did not make it any smaller. So it's not exactly 8 inches, it's a little bit more, 8.5. So if you want to upscale this for the 10-inch driver, I would recommend use like a 10-inch and a 10-inch to 10 to 11-inch wide front. That's what it will like. I would recommend to keep the same port height that I'm using here, which is 8 3/4 inches high. So use the same height for the port as I'm using here. I would not make it any taller than that. And the depth of the pipe, so here when you look at the depth, so now I'm just showing the depth of the entire cabinet, because for construction this will be more helpful. So this is when you look, it's 10 inches and 3/4, 10 3/4, but you can increase it to up to 14 inches. Or I would say like maybe like around 12 to 13 inches, 14 if you want, but you don't need to. So depending on what kind of wood you have available, about even with 12 inches you would be okay. So it's up to you, something between 12 to 14 inches for the depth. And for the height, I can't really measure it with one hand, but I measured it so from the lip of the port, from here, maybe I can do that, from here to the top. Can we do it? Can we do it? Yes, so it's 67 inches. So I would say you can go up like a few inches higher. Maybe you can go up to 70 to 75 inches. A little bit taller, because actually the bottom, the base extension will be defined by your pipes. So if you go taller, then you will have deeper base reaching lower. So that's the most important bit about it. But it will be also depending on your room, and also if you make it like really, really tall, then it will be kind of more bothersome and bulkier to deal with it. And I would say if you increase the height by too much, then you will also affect how the insides work, and then you will be reaching that situation, that trial and error prototyping. That's what you reach if you change the dimension, the internal dimension too much. But I say if you keep that like 70-inch long front from there to the top, if it's 70, then up to 70, then there is no change in the height of the center of the driver, which is, let's just try to measure it again with my tape, from the lip going to the center. That's like about, can we focus on it? So it's like 32.5 inches approximately there, you see? Okay, so now everyone has the dimensions. MJ also have the dimensions again. So basically what I recommend is to go like, instead of 8.5 inch, go for 10 to 11 inch wide front. Keep that whatever port height that I said, I think was it like 8.75 inches, something like that, and about 70 inches total height. And for the depth of the cabinet, it's a bit I mean the depth of the front panel, so this is not the internal dimension, is the depth of the front panel. That would be between 12 and 14 inches. And also what you see here, that I left the bottom panel protruding a little bit, that protrudes 1 extra inch. Yeah, leave it like an inch or 2 inches more to the front. That gives a little more stability, so that will prevent your pipe from wobbling around. And that's it. So these are my recommendations, how you would scale this cabinet instead of the FC8 for an F10 Select. So thank you, M.J.S, for your question, and enjoy the F10 Select driver. I think you will have an amazing cabinet when you build it with Sitka spruce. And what you can do with it is that for the front plate and the back, so the front buffer and the back, use the Sitka spruce. And if you want, for the sides, you can go for mahogany or oak. So you can use like a strong support for the sides and leave the front and back to be the resonating element. That's one alternative. And the other is the whole thing of Sitka spruce. Both will be excellent. And of course, for the top, a tiny detail. As you see, the front and back panel, can we see it from the top? Maybe not that much, maybe now. They meet there, and actually they overlap like the last about 3-4 inches or so, about the last 3 inches. This is where they meet internally. And then I have filed down the rear panel, so they have a continuous mating surface at this point. And that's really important, because this gives the strength, so that the front and the rear are really held strong together. And it's really important that the side boards are the ones that are on the side. So the front doesn't go and cover the side pieces, but it's in the middle. It's sandwiched between the two edges, because these are the ones that give it that rigidity, that stability. If we put it on the front, there's nothing holding them together, keeping the frame. So now the frame is much more solid, much more stable when it's from the side. So enjoy your build, have fun, and if you want to report on it, I would be really, really happy to hear about the results that you had with your wonderful drivers in your pipes. So thank you, have an amazing day, bye bye.